Guys, gals, and pals, welcome to Paint&Talk, episode 3. I hope you've had an amazing 24 hours since I've seen you last. And today, to start, I do have a little bit of housekeeping to do right away. One, I think on this painting cam, there is a smudge, like, over on the other side. That happened. It's been behind me these last couple recordings. I don't know if you've noticed. I really hope you haven't. I don't know how to get it out. I just don't, it's oil paint. What do I do about this, you know? So I'm sorry about that. There's really no housekeeping element there. It's more so just me saying, it's more of an apology than anything, you know? Second, I have lights up here. They're not very stable today. I just gotta say it. They've been more stable. Let's put it that way. They've been more stable in the past, and today is not their peak of stability by any means. I need a different brush. And then lastly, I got to address the sweater on my shoulders. I feel awful having this sweater on my shoulders right now. I really do. I feel like a terrible person. And that's because, so there's this like trend online. I don't even know if it's still a trend. I feel like this is probably like super old by now. There's this trend of like quiet luxury or like old money, like how to dress like you're rich. And they always just throw a sweater on their shoulders, right? They're like, it'll just be dumb polo, like just a polo with like khakis and a sweater over their shoulders. And what these people don't realize is they don't look quiet luxury at all. They don't look old money at all. They just look like they're going to a boat club filled with other people who can't dress. It's terrible. It's an epidemic. It's COVID all over again. It's the worst thing. It's just the worst. It's so bad. And I don't like the sweater over the shoulders for that reason. Listen, sometimes you're out and you throw the sweater over the shoulders and you feel good about it, like you feel cool. This isn't one of those times. It kind of is, but it isn't, right? So I was getting ready to record for this episode and I was like, I'm gonna wear this sweater. This is a very nice sweater. I really like it. It's very comfortable. Obviously it's winter time here in New York. So, you know, us New Yorkers need to have our sweaters on. It's a great time of the year to be wearing a sweater. Not a great time of the year to be wearing a sweater under too hot lights though, which is incidentally what this is. So this sweater, I love it, but I also don't wear it enough, you know, because like it's honestly too warm. Like this isn't the type of sweater you can wear out on its own. You need a jacket over it, but when you have the jacket over it, it's too hot. It's one of those. Even like I'm a little hot just having it over my shoulders right now, but it's too late. I've committed. So like, where was I going? Right, I was wearing the sweater. I don't wear it enough because it's kind of like an inconvenient sweater. And then I put it on and I got here and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like I was like, I will fall apart in this sweater if I wear this through this recording. This brush also might be too big. So I was like, what do I do? I felt bad putting away the sweater. It was like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys can tell, this kind of gave me a crisis before this recording started. Cause I was like, I need to wear this sweater. Like I don't wear it enough. So I was like, what if I throw it over the shoulders? And then I threw it over, I was like, this looks really dumb, but the mic works really well on it. So it might be happening more. Like that, it kind of is a very convenient place to put the microphone. So I do actually love it, is the whole thing. But I don't like the optics of it, you know? There's this really interesting idea that one of my friends talked to me about years ago that I still think about because I don't fully understand it. That like people should stop dressing in aesthetics and dressing in optics. And I think what he means is like, you don't want to dress like old money is stupid. You want to instead give off the optics through social signaling of your status, not by cosplaying, but by like looking like a person who does those things. So like a lot of people, like they do like the workwear that's very trendy now. I think his whole thing was, instead of that, you should go outside and like just chop wood all the time to gain the optic of it. And that's a really bad idea. I was gassing him up about it too. I was like, this is genius. Like, I was like, you need to write a book about this. And he went, no, I'm not writing a book about it. Now I see why. He was messing with me. Like, I've had that in my head for years, and I just repeated it back out loud, and I sounded crazy. I've repeated that to other people, and, like, they nodded along. So I was like, oh my god, this must be a good idea. I don't know if that worked. But either way, there is something I want to talk about here today that I was thinking about. I kind of had a little existential crisis about it this morning. And I was like, I'm trying to use Paint&Talk as like, I want to use it almost more like a diary than anything else. That's why I think it's so interesting about channels where they do daily stuff where they're just talking to a camera, is that has an opportunity to be very real, you know what I mean? So I had a little mini existential crisis about this morning. That like ownership is kind of going away. Like, I realized that, and it's really upsetting, but like I feel like upsetting doesn't even do it justice, Like, I feel like it's like concerning, like genuinely something to be concerned about. It's almost like dystopian what's going on. I remember the first time I became aware of this is when I was a kid, and I grew up sort of in the transition between like, people were done with DVDs and starting to do like the streaming stuff, like Netflix, all that. I grew up during the transition to that, at least in the years that I was like aware of things going on, So I remember conversations being had about it, and I remember this wasn't even when I was a kid. This was a couple of years ago. SpongeBob, like an old episode, I want to say, of SpongeBob got taken off of whatever streaming service it was on. This was probably more recent than I'm thinking, but I felt like I was a lot younger. I don't know. I'm bad with time, if you can't tell. And I remember like that was the first time where I was like, wait, maybe there's a problem with us not owning DVDs of the things we like, but instead having to pay for access to them, Because like, it seems like a great innovation at first. I'm sure it was meant to be when the people first came up with it over at Netflix or whatever company did it first. I don't know if it was Netflix. I'm sure it seemed like an innovation, but it's not. It's like gotten so much worse. Essentially, they made these streaming service, and it made it so much better at first. Like, we can access all these movies and TV shows the second we want to. Great, awesome, more convenient. It was $7 a month, so it was cheaper, and they essentially destroyed DVDs doing that because of how much better that initial model was. But then like ownership problems aside, which is the main focus of what I want to talk about here, there's just like the issue of the cost of it, because Netflix at first was the only one. It was really great. $7 a month, you get everything. Netflix starts raising its prices. It's like, still great. This is still cheap, but that's a little weird, right? Over time, though, all the other companies realized it was profitable to do that, so they all started their own streaming services, and then blah blah blah. Now we pay for 1 million streaming services a month, all of us, and it's not good. And before you go to watch something, instead of being like, oh, we should just go down to Blockbuster and grab it, or like, do we have the DVD of it? We have to Google and like go through hoops of like, all right, which streaming service has this? Okay, Netflix. No, Netflix took it on last month. It went over to Paramount Plus. Sure, I'll do the free trial of Paramount Plus tonight. Oh no, it's on HBO. You gotta jump through hoops to get things. So what seemed like it was really convenient at first turned out to be, I think, blatantly just kind of not, right? Like, I don't see any convenience to this anymore, at least, and the convenience is already a huge problem of it, because that's kind of like, I don't think I can articulate like the larger issue of it, but it's just very annoying, like without even going into like why like them destroying an industry and then like kind of just like taking it for their own to do whatever they want with it. Like, that's obviously wrong, and there's something there, but I think like it's above all just like kind of annoying, right? Like, I think that's a reasonable enough thing to say, is like, it's just annoying. But there is definitely a problem with the ownership of it, because like, I remember when that episode of SpongeBob got taken off, like, only the people who bought the DVDs 20 years before had that episode, had access to it. And that's like, I think it makes it easier for them to take things away from people where they're paying for that. You know what I mean? Like you pay for Netflix, whatever SpongeBob was on, you paid for Netflix to watch SpongeBob, let's say, right? And in the process of paying for that, you bought that episode of SpongeBob, or at least the right to access it. They're taking it away, going like, no, we just don't want this one episode out there anymore. I don't remember why. It was probably like a racist thing or something. I don't know. Either way, this, you know, let's just excuse the reasons as to why they took it down. They took away something that we all theoretically paid for. And that was the first time that I became aware of, like, there's something wrong with this model of, like, renting. Because, you know, I always, I remember, I have family up on a farm, right? Like some family that I go to. And when they were describing to me, because they can't afford, like, the tractors are really expensive. This is something I didn't know till a while back. Tractors are very expensive. I know that. They're super expensive. And I asked them, like, oh, so how do you get this giant tractor? And they're like, we rent it. Like, we rent it for 2 hours, give it back to that, he comes pick it up. Like, this is a very common practice with a ton of farmers, right? And I remember when I heard that, I was like, that's stupid. Like, I want to own that tractor. Like, if you're going to be using it every day, you want to get accustomed to it. Like, for a farmer, and this is a slight exaggeration, but somewhat, there's a parallel there. For a farmer, their tractor is akin to, like, me having this paintbrush. And, like, if I knew that, like, the second I get done painting, someone's going to walk in here and be like, all right, give me the paintbrush back, you'll get it tomorrow, I'd be like, no. Like, or, like, you'll get a different paintbrush tomorrow, whatever we have on hand. No, like, I want to get used to this. I want to get used to, like, the way the brushes react when I press it to the canvas, the way that it cleans after I'm done using it. I want to get used to all those things. I want to, and even beyond, like, the utility of having something that's your own, I want to be able to watch as I get more comfortable with it, and the gold lettering slowly fades off the brush. You know, I want things like that. And this is a really strange thing to say, but I want a connection to the objects that I own. I don't want to be alienated from them, because I don't know, I think that's just a natural inclination, is it not? That you don't want to feel like you're far and away from the things in your life, whether that be people, which is the most, you know, common type of, like, you don't want to be alienated from them, or whether that be the things that you use on a daily basis. And so the tractor, I remember I was like, okay, that's stupid. Like, why would you ever not want that? Instead, like, you should just, like, not use a tractor for a year and save up. I was dumb. Like, obviously I get why that doesn't work. But whatchamacallit, that was, like, another time where I was like, wait, this, like, renting system is kind of dumb. Like, and also, the guy who bought this tractor, right, he owns this one tractor. Let's say it's, I don't know how much tractors cost, I just know it's a lot. Let's say it's $10,000 for that tractor. He rents it out for $100 an hour. After 100 rents, after, like, maybe, let's say you rent it out 3 times a day, that's after, like, 2 months or whatever, right? After 2 months, he paid off that tractor and then some. So, like, why does he get to make so much money off this tractor? Simply because other people can't afford a tractor. Like, that doesn't make sense. So the whole thing kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, right? But then, like, I think today was maybe the first time I realized that, like, that's the way everything is going. And I don't know what it's a result of. You know, I tend to blame a lot of things on technology because it's the most immediate form of change I can see right in front of me. You know, like, obviously ebbs and flows happen in the economy and, like, the social structures and, like, all the things in society. But I can't see that right in front of me. I have to kind of observe that over long periods of time. Now, though, I can go like, okay, I got a new iPhone that just made my day different than it was yesterday. And everyone else's too. Like, that's a very simple thing to see. But I don't think this one's linked to technology. What sparked this whole thing, actually, was my brother sent me a video on how, like, there was, like, this PC rental company. And I was like, that's, like, crazy. That's crazy that everything is becoming so rented that we don't own anything. And it made me think of, there's this YouTube channel, right? I don't remember the name. I think it's like Axios, like Axion. And they talk about like, it's one of those like AI automated channels, but like, this is how you get rich. And then it's like, rich people, they do the thing where they're like, rich people wake up early and go to the gym, while the poor, lazy, sleep. Like, they do that thing where they just lie about like how productive a CEO is, you know, which is fine. I'm not here to, you know, indict that whole channel or whatever, but they had this very interesting way of looking at it, where like, to be rich, you had to own something. That was like their whole philosophy, was that like, the rich are in the owning class. They buy something, they own it, and they sell that service to everyone else, whether that ownership be of their own skill, or that ownership be of a service, such as like an insurance kind of thing, they have the money to insure, or whether that ownership be of an apartment they rent out. And it is a weird way of getting rich, right? Because like, there are so many ways to get rich, obviously. You don't need to be in this class of like people who purely own things to get rich. That's stupid. But I remember it was very funny how they treated it. And like, now though, I'm like, maybe that's the direction things are going. And I wanna look into this. I meant to do it before the podcast today, but I didn't feel like it. Like, I wonder if, because in history class, you always get taught like, the problem that always plagues a society is that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? And I wonder if maybe that's like kind of an oversimplification. Is it that they get richer, or is it they own more? I wonder what it is. Maybe it's both. If someone's like familiar with, like, I know this happened in Rome, I think. If someone's like familiar with that, let me know, because I'm very curious about that. Because, you know, it seems like it's happening. I mean, the rich are obviously getting richer. I think, like, I remember, because the election was happening a little while back, and I remember, like I was seeing so many statistics about how, like, wealth inequality was, like, an all-time high. So the rich are definitely getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer, which is a bad sign for all of us, and, like, us functioning as a world, because this is happening in every country. But, like, is it happening? Is the ownership also changing of things? Or is it just that, like, as the rich get richer, they just tend to own more? I guess if I was getting richer, I'd just buy more things. And, you know, sometimes I guess that would translate to, you know, owning assets, right? So maybe that's it. So I don't know, but it could be concerning. Well, it is concerning, but it could be even more concerning than I'm thinking, if this is more symbolic of, like, a larger trend or something like that. Oh, paint on hand. Okay. This is the tough part about doing this in a small little cube, is that it gets everywhere, and it's really not the easiest to clean when that happens. Okay. Let's use this one. But that was something that just gave me a mini existential crisis this morning. It's tough, like, just like being a person in these times right now, I feel like, because this is actually very risky, what I'm about to do here. I am putting more paint onto this canvas, and this could literally destroy every piece of clothing I'm wearing, including this nice sweater that is gracefully holding my mic right now. But yeah, it's getting actually scary, like, just being alive in these times, to be honest, because, like, I remember as I was growing up, and, like, even in my earlier years of, like, adulthood, everyone was like, oh, you're living through historical times because of, like, iPhones and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure I am, but also, like, I'm sure everyone thinks they're living through historical times. You know, like, what times aren't historical? It just depends on more or less history happening, right? So I thought it was kind of BS, but, like, the more I get older, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm over-consuming news lately. I think that's definitely a possibility, but it really is starting to feel like everything could look radically different in the next 5 years compared to right now. Which is scary, but also, like, radically different in what direction, you know? Things could, like, as much as, like, it seems like things are going downhill by almost every metric known to man, there's also, like, today is different from yesterday, and yesterday is different from the day before that. Like, things change so fast, and like world-changing events can just, that's one thing I think really, that like when I realized I was living through world-changing times, it was when the pandemic happened, right? And it was like, whoa, like yesterday I was outside, today though I'm inside for like the next year. I think that's when I was like, wow, like anything can change at the drop of a hat if it's just like the right time. So I don't know, I think big things are gonna happen soon, but I think I'm gonna try and remain hopeful that, oh my god, this is about to fall, this is all about to fall. Oh, balance, okay. I don't think you can see the palette, but the balance going on here is actually immeasurable and immaculate. So yeah, I just gotta remain hopeful, you know? And like doing my part, of course, too, in terms of like just like not being bad, you know, not directly contributing to the bad stuff going on and trying to help facilitate more of the good stuff going on. I mean, that's like the most obvious thing in the world. I know, controversial statement of the year. So I guess not everything's so bad, but it definitely feels that way sometimes, especially when you look at like just the way things are getting so much more. And when I say divided, I don't mean divided in the sense of like, I don't know, everyone's like, we're politically more divided than ever. And it's like, yeah, but like, we're also politically less in control than ever, I feel like. So it doesn't really matter if we're divided, in my opinion, at least. I don't see a difference. Am I missing a brush? Did I give one away? Why would I give, I don't know. Sometimes I just say things, man. Speaking of saying things, that's definitely the thing I gotta get better at with this show, is like, so I did test recordings. I do test recordings for everything before I do them, right? Just because, like, I don't know, I'm a big believer. The first 5 times you do something is when you're gonna see the most improvement, right? Because like you're new, you're finding your footing, 100%. So I was like, okay, I'll do 5 test recordings. And within them, I definitely figured out how to kind of nail the cameras a little bit, you know, like I got the lighting right, cameras are right. I will admit that yesterday my head wasn't the shot. I was trying something new. I'll never do that again. Whatchamacallit? The thing that I need to get better at is like having more to talk about. I'm doing this every day, and what I'm essentially doing is just like, I'm just gonna think out loud. I mean, there's no other way to do it, right? I can't have a firm topic daily. I just purely would run out of things to talk about, whether that be news or whatever it may be. Like, there's just not enough. So I'm just gonna let my, like, think out loud, which is cool. I kind of wanted to be that, because that's what I like watching. But there is the other side to that, that like, whatchamacallit? Sometimes I will, like, I'll finish a thought, you know what I mean? I guess that's the, like, I came into this day being like, I want to talk about, ownership and things like that, because I was thinking about it this morning. But like, then, like, I kind of brought that thought to like as deep as I want to go with it, or as deep as I can go with like the amount of knowledge I have on the subject. So like, that's done, you know what I mean? And then like, I kind of lose a little steam right after that. Okay, we gotta lock in on these guys now. You know, you lose a little bit of steam, so I gotta come in. I think the better thing to do would be to come in with like a couple topics that I want to talk about, you know. That's probably the better idea, which any normal smart person would have thought of, but I'm unfortunately an idiot and only focus on the cameras. But that's the thing when you're doing test recordings, is like, you're not gonna, you know, the test recordings I did were like 15-20 minutes compared to 40. You're not gonna nail everything until you really start doing on a daily basis. The upside to this, though, actually, this is something interesting, is that like last year I tried to, I heard this thing that like if you record yourself for 20 minutes a day and watch it back, you'll like become very aware of your mannerisms and be a better communicator. And I was like, oh my god, communication, as a fellow human, I love doing that. So I started really like getting, like trying to do that every day. And what I would do is, as I was coming back from the gym, I would record myself talking. kind of like I'm doing here, but instead of painting, I was not, because I don't paint on my way home from the gym. So I did that for a while, but eventually, like, it was attached to going to the gym. So whenever I'd be lazy, I'd fall out of the habit. I also just didn't have time to watch back 20 minutes of footage a day, but now that I have to edit it, oh my god, I'm incidentally doing it. So the upside of like all that will be I'll be much better at communicating. By the time this year's over, like, I'll still be too scared to talk in front of people, but like I'll know how to talk to myself, having like a little bit of an episode. Which, I mean, is all anyone needs. You know what I mean? That's all anyone needs at all. But I think I'm coming towards the conclusion here of this. Yeah. I feel like it needs a little something. I feel like the point's not made, you know what I mean? I wonder if my beatboxing is picking up on camera. I was producing music for like a week. Like, I got really into it for a week. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys, where like you just randomly like start doing something, you can't stop for like a week. I got really into music production, just producing the worst beats of all time. And my friend is a fantastic recording artist by the name of Kid Kane, who makes just the best music I've ever heard. Music that makes me feel emotions that I've never felt before. Whatchamacallit, he showed me how to like do some tricks in GarageBand, the free program. So I was like addicted to that for a week, but I was just really bad at it. So this is all to say that soon I will be debuting my musical persona. Why do so many YouTubers fail when they go into music, or just people in general? I guess it's really hard to get that good, I don't know. I think I view arts as too much of a meritocracy sometimes, you know? Like, I bet, like, you could be really bad at this and end up being, like, really successful, you know? Like this guy, like, look at 1 foot, it's terrible. He can't stand on that, but he's still standing. That's kind of everything, you know, if you think about it. All right, and I think I'm just about done here. I kind of just want to, maybe I'm not done here. This is, I think, something that's going to happen in my painting. Well, it happened in this one, I think, already. When I first started drawing as a kid, like, heavily, like, getting into it, I've been drawing since I was way young, like 6 maybe. And when I really started getting into it, around 7-ish is when I started drawing like every single day. I would keep adding to a drawing until it was just bad. And I'm sure that's gonna happen here, especially because I have to fill a runtime. Like, this goes back to me saying these aren't the most conducive conditions to learn to paint in, which is fine. I mean, painting's only like half the goal here, you know? Talking is the other half. That's the title of the show, is it not? I'm definitely doing that here, you know, and I think it's better to be able to locate it, because it took me, when I was a kid drawing, it took me like a good 2 years to be like, why are all these drawings so bad? And then I was like, wait. So what I would do is, because I loved Legos as a kid, as everyone does, and I loved comics, so I would draw Legos of comic characters that they wouldn't make. They didn't even have like they only had like Batman, so I would draw, like, I was the visionary who had the guts to draw the Flash and Aquaman. And what I would do though is I would draw like the Flash, and I'd be like, oh no, he needs to have all the heads next to him of every villain that he has, and the page would just be filled up with terrible, terrible things by the end. That was the one where I realized, like, the reason I remember that one exactly, because that's like the moment I was like, wait, I'm making these really bad. So that's when I stopped, and this is the moment I'll stop here. Because that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of Paint and Talk. I will be back tomorrow for another session of painting and talking with you all. Until then, as always, check out my Instagram to see the finished piece from Straight On of what I've drawn here, along with the explanation of the meaning behind what I was doing, go steal things because you need ownership or something like that. I think that was the message today. So do that, and I'll catch you tomorrow.